Maybe you've walked with God for decades. You've lived long enough to know that faith is rarely the simple, straight path the hymns describe. You've seen prayers answered, miracles unfold right before your eyes, and you've felt the warm assurance of His presence. But you've also known the long, cold silence. The prayers that faded unanswered into the twilight years. Now, as the years lengthen, a new kind of quiet settles over your life. Maybe the house is emptier now, a chair permanently vacant at the dinner table. Maybe the ache in your joints is a constant, steady reminder that the body is slowing down. Even as the spirit still longs to run, you look back and you see a life rich with history, marked by both joy and profound loss. You see the children you raised, now adults with their own struggles, maybe some who have drifted far from the harbor of faith. And you wonder, was my labor in vain? Is this physical pain a sign I'm simply being forgotten? Where is the peace I was promised for these later seasons? It's in this quiet ache, this wrestling with God when life stops making simple sense, that we find a friend in an often overlooked prophet, Habakkuk. Habakkuk was not a man of perfect, silent acceptance. He was a man who complained to God, who stood on his watchtower and demanded answers when the world around him, and even God's apparent plan, seemed cruel and chaotic. He was a man who dared to ask, "How long, O Lord?" He was a truth-teller who refused to cloak his honest pain in pious platitudes. And through his tears, through his deep, necessary lament, God revealed 20 profound lessons, not just for the young and searching, but for every soul who has learned that faith, even after all these years, sometimes hurts. Let's sit together for a moment. Let the music carry us gently through the pages of Habakkuk, a roadmap for the soul who is finished with easy. Maybe you felt the ache of watching a child drift, or the quiet grief of a prayer that faded. If you know that deep, persistent wrestling of faith, the kind that only decades can teach, I want to invite you to stay. This channel is a harbor for souls who are finished with easy answers, but not finished with God. If you long for quiet strength and companionship on this enduring path, take a moment now to subscribe. Let us walk this next chapter together. It's still okay to ask God why. You remember the early years when everything seemed so black and white, when you were told to just accept God's will. But you've seen things now. Grief that lingers, injustice that triumphs. You've earned the right to ask hard questions. Habakkuk opens with a plea, "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear?" His prayer is a demand for a defense, a righteous complaint. He wasn't afraid to be honest. God never rebuked Habakkuk for his question. He heard the pain beneath the doubt. Your wrestling is not a sign of weak faith. It is a sign of a relationship strong enough to handle the truth. God would rather have your honest complaint than your silent, polite distance. The older we get, the softer God's voice feels in your youth. Faith felt like a thunderclap, a loud, clear call to action. Now, in the quiet of an empty room, you strain to hear Him. It feels like a whisper, easily lost in the ringing silence of your own life. The Lord answers Habakkuk with a vision, a quiet word that the prophet must strain to write down and make plain. It wasn't a spectacle, but a deep, intimate confidence. The years may have dimmed your hearing, but not God's ability to speak. His voice has become softer because your soul's posture has become quieter. He's no longer shouting to get your attention. He's sharing a secret with a trusted friend. Faith doesn't grow old, it grows quiet and strong. God's silence doesn't mean He's absent. You've prayed for a loved one's healing. You've prayed for reconciliation with a wandering child. The silence that follows is deafening. It feels like a withdrawal, a judgment, or perhaps worse, indifference. Habakkuk first felt ignored. God's ultimate response, however, revealed He had been working the entire time, just on a scale too vast for the prophet's immediate comprehension. The absence of an immediate answer is not the absence of a present God. He is not silent because He is far away. He is silent because he is working, shaping something that requires a kind of timing only he can keep. The years may take your clarity, but not your connection. The waiting years are not wasted. You may feel like you're simply waiting to go home, marking time, your productive years behind you. This season can feel like a spiritual holding pattern, empty and without purpose. God told Habakkuk, "For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens toward the goal, and it will not fail. Though it tarries, wait for it." The wait itself was part of the plan. Waiting isn't punishment, it's preparation. In this slower season, your most important work is being refined, character. You are becoming more patient, more dependent, more deeply rooted in the soil of His peace. The waiting years are simply the harvest of patience. When the future feels short, His promises are still long. The future, physically, feels defined, finite. The promises that once felt eternally ahead of you now loom large and immediate. It can create a feeling of Habakkuk was focused on the immediate, terrifying future, the coming invasion. God directed his gaze past the end of his life toward an eternal justice and a promise that cannot be undone. Your hope is no longer tethered to a long life on this earth, but to an eternal life that is now so very close. The span of his promises is measured not by your years, but by his endless existence. He is preparing a place. He is simply giving you time to prepare your heart. When the clock runs down, his word still holds the sunrise. Loss does not mean the end of love. You carry the names of loved ones in your memory like precious stones. The sharp pain of their absence has mellowed into a tender ache, but the question remains, will the love fade too? Habakkuk feared the loss of everything, his nation, his way of life, his prosperity. God revealed that the only thing that truly matters, his steadfast love, cannot be touched by any earthly devastation. Love that is rooted in God is never truly lost. It is simply transformed into eternal memory and eternal longing. The love you carry for those who have gone before is a reflection of the eternal, unbroken love that waits for you. You have not outlived your love. You are moving closer to its reunion. You haven't outlived your purpose. You may feel unseen, retired, your counsel unsolicited. You've passed the torch, and sometimes the quiet after the race feels like irrelevance. Habakkuk was given a specific, necessary task during the waiting. Write the vision. Make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. His purpose was to communicate hope to the next generation. Your purpose has simply become quieter, deeper, and more profound. It is now the work of prayer, of silent intercession, of demonstrating a patient and enduring faith to those who are watching. Your legacy is not defined by what you did at work, but by who you are in the quiet faithfulness of this season. The greatest legacy is built in hidden faithfulness. Strength isn't always loud. The young have a vigorous, loud faith, protests and passion. Your strength now is a deep quietness, a resilience forged over decades of hidden battles. It can feel like surrender, not power. Habakkuk's ultimate strength was not found in fighting his enemies, but in the humility to wait for God's timing, an act of supreme, quiet courage. The strength of a towering oak tree is not in its swaying branches, but in the depth of its hidden roots. Your quiet endurance, your gentle refusal to be overcome by bitterness, your persistent gratitude, that is a strength the young have not yet earned. Your quiet endurance is the true sound of deep faith. When health fades, faith grows quietly. The body is a constant reminder of fragility. You've prayed for healing that hasn't arrived, and you've had to make peace with limitation. It is hard to feel useful when you are in constant pain. Habakkuk's vision of destruction included the loss of his livelihood, the figs, the vines, the flocks. He faced the absolute certainty of physical want. Faith that relies on a healthy body is fragile. Faith that flourishes in spite of a failing body is unbreakable. Your truest strength is not your physical power, but the courage to believe when the world tells you there is nothing left. The pain that strips away everything else leaves only God. The righteous still live by faith. This is the great anchor verse of the book, quoted by Paul in the New Testament. It is a verse you've known for decades, but maybe now, in the stillness, you feel its weight for the first time. The righteous shall live by his faith. God gave him this core truth as the single, necessary thing to hold on to when all else failed. You've tried to live by works, by understanding, by the clarity of a straight path. But now, in the end, it all comes back to this quiet, simple, ultimate truth. Trust him. Your salvation, your life, your peace, your purpose is simply an act of leaning into him. We don't live by sight. We live by the quiet conviction of faith. 11. The pain that teaches more than prosperity. You wouldn't trade your current peace for the chaos of your youth. Yet you look back and realize your most profound moments of growth happened in the hardest seasons. You know that pain is a fierce, necessary tutor. Habakkuk's pain forced him onto the watchtower to listen. It was his agony over injustice that positioned him to receive a higher revelation from God. Do not resent the pain of this season. It has carved out a deeper capacity for God's presence than prosperity ever could. It has taught you to let go of the things you can't keep and hold tighter to the things you can't lose. Prosperity whispers comfort, or pain shouts necessity. Remember when he brought you through. Before, when the current storm rages, it's easy to forget the countless storms he navigated for you in the past. Nostalgia can be a sweet sadness, but it can also be a powerful source of remembrance. Habakkuk later prays for a revival, to see God's great works in the midst of the years. He recalled the past. Acts of God as fuel for his current hope. Go back in your memory. Name the times he provided for the impossible. Name the times he healed the broken heart. Your life is not a sequence of accidents. It is a trail of miracles. Let the memory of a faithful past strengthen your trust for an uncertain future. Your history with God is your guarantee for tomorrow. We are halfway through Habakkuk's profound lessons, and perhaps one truth has settled deeply into your spirit, a lesson forged in your own long years of waiting. We need your wisdom. There is a younger soul, perhaps a grandchild, or a friend still struggling, who needs the quiet perspective only you possess. Please, take a moment now and share just one hard-won lesson from your journey in the comments below. Let your endurance become a legacy of light for others who need to know faith still triumphs in the quiet moments. Take a moment now to subscribe. 13. Gratitude is the doorway to peace. It's so easy to focus on what's gone, what aches, what is missing, the departed friends, the lost mobility, the unfulfilled dreams. That focus steals the present moment. Habakkuk's prayer ultimately shifts from complaint to a detailed list of future deprivations, followed by an unconditional declaration of joy. A choice, not a feeling. You don't have to feel happy to be grateful. Gratitude is not a shallow emotion. It's a deep theological choice to acknowledge the goodness of the giver, regardless of the gift. It is the key that unlocks the door to a quiet, abiding peace. Look not at the empty place, but at the full provision he still offers. Joy is still possible. After loss, you may feel like the capacity for true, unbridled joy departed with a loved one, or with your own youthful strength. You carry a heaviness that seems permanent. Even after picturing the complete destruction of his world, Habakkuk declares, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation." This is not a superficial happiness. It is a deep, subterranean joy rooted in salvation itself, a joy that is completely independent of circumstances. It is a joy that says, though everything is gone, he remains. That remaining presence is enough. Joy after loss is the resilience of a spirit rooted in God alone. God's justice may be slow, but it's steady. It is frustrating to watch injustice prosper and wickedness triumph, especially when you've spent a lifetime trying to do what's right. You long for a final decisive accounting. God told Habakkuk that the wicked would eventually be consumed by their own pride and violence. The answer wasn't no to justice. It was not yet. You have lived long enough to know that very little is settled in a single moment. God's justice is not an impatient human reaction. It is the slow, deliberate bending of history toward the right. You can rest, knowing that He is the keeper of the scales, and every tear, every betrayal, every act of grace will ultimately be accounted for. The world may spin in chaos, but God's judgment is a plumb line. When you don't recognize yourself, God still does. Perhaps you look in the mirror and are surprised by the person staring back, older, frailer, less capable than you remember. It is a quiet grief to lose the familiar version of yourself. The prophet had to completely reset his expectations of himself and his nation. The old way of seeing his world was gone, but the fundamental truth of his identity, his faith, remained. You are not defined by your strength, your career, or your health. You are defined by the Spirit of God that resides within you. The outer man may be wasting away, but the inner man is being renewed day by day. He sees the soul you are becoming, and it is beautiful. God's love is not tethered to your youthful image. Worship is a whisper in the dark. It can be hard to muster the energy for vibrant, loud praise. Sometimes, worship is just the silent lifting of a weary heart, a quiet acknowledgement that He is still God. Habakkuk's final declaration of joy was not made from a temple or a thriving city. It was made in anticipation of utter darkness and famine. It was a choice to worship in spite of circumstances. True worship does not require a grand stage. It only requires a willing heart. Your quiet, persistent acknowledgement of His sovereignty, even from a hospital bed or a lonely chair, is the purest, most profound form of praise. Worship doesn't need a strong voice. It needs a surrendered will. Legacy is built in hidden faithfulness. You wonder what you've left behind. When the eulogies are read, what will truly endure? You may not have been a celebrity, a great missionary, or a powerful leader whose name is etched in stone. You were simply a parent, a spouse, a friend, who showed up day after day, year after year, and kept believing, kept loving, even when it hurt. Perhaps your greatest battles were fought in the quiet of your own heart. The temptation to bitterness, the urge to give up on a difficult relationship, the choice to forgive when it felt impossible. These hidden victories seem small now, but their residue is everywhere. It's in the character of your children. It's in the enduring bond of your marriage. It's in the quiet hope you offered a struggling friend. You may feel like a minor character in the great drama of life, but minor characters often hold the essential truths. The world celebrates the roar, but the soul remembers the whisper. Do not measure your worth by the volume of your achievements, but by the depth of your consistency. Habakkuk's simple act of recording God's vision, a hidden, faithful act of transcription, perhaps done in a darkened room, fueled by fear and hope, was far from an act of public triumph. It was an act of obedience in obscurity. Yet that vision, that prophetic mandate to write the vision, make it plain, echoed through centuries. It was the humble, faithful seed that bloomed into the foundational doctrine of the New Testament. The righteous shall live by his faith. His legacy was not built on stopping the Babylonians, but on simply recording the word of the Lord, believing it even when he couldn't see it come to pass. His quiet commitment to the word became a lifeline for generations. Your legacy is not the building with your name on it. It is the unseen thread of faith you wove into the hearts of your children, your grandchildren, and your friends. It is the simple, quiet, faithful refusal to quit on God, on others, or on yourself. That enduring faithfulness is more precious than eternal gold. It is the truth that will outlast the monuments of men. You have poured out your life as an offering, and that offering has seeped into the soil of eternity. The life well lived is simply the one faithfully endured. You have not been a spectator, dear friend. You have been an architect of hope. Heaven is closer than you think. The distance to home shortens with every passing year. The familiar aches, the silent nights, the unexpected moments of nostalgia, they are all gentle, compassionate reminders that this earth, beautiful as it is not your final resting place. You've had to say goodbye to so many that the pull of the other side is strong. You find yourself thinking of faces and names that have crossed over, and the thought of seeing them again is no longer a distant theological concept. It's a powerful, immediate longing. Sometimes the world feels less real than the certainty of God's kingdom. You're not rushing your departure, but the thought of ultimate rest is a comfort, not a fear. This life is fading, yes, but the eternal one is brightening. Habakkuk was consumed by the immediate, painful earth, the violence, the chaos, the looming invasion. God's instruction to wait for the vision forced the prophet's focus to shift dramatically. He was forced to lift his gaze beyond the horizon of his own pain and his own life toward the vision of God's eternal victory. He had to trust a promise that would only find its final fulfillment long after he was gone. He focused on a God who would ultimately set things right, creating an enduring order that transcended the temporary chaos of his nation. You are not simply waiting to die. You are moving closer to live, to experience life in its unbound, purest form. The veil between the seen and the unseen is becoming thinner, more transparent, and the air of eternity feels closer. Let your heart be filled with a quiet, certain anticipation, not of finality, but of completion. Know that the love you miss, the peace you long for, the strength you lack, is waiting for you in its purest, endless form. This is your final journey home, and you are not walking alone. We are moving from a world of shadows to the light, and the light is already visible. 20. Even now, God is enough. You have lost so much: health, mobility, friends, the certainty of tomorrow. You may feel stripped bare of all the comforts and easy assurances of youth. When you mentally list everything that has been taken or has simply faded, the question comes: what is left? Where does my hope truly reside when I can no longer rely on my own strength, my own plans, or even the continued presence of my dearest loved ones? This season is meant to strip away all the false gods you didn't even know you worshipped, the idol of independence, the idol of health, the idol of control. This is his final triumphant declaration, the culmination of his entire wrestling journey. Though the fig tree should not blossom and there be no fruit on the vines, yet I will exult in the Lord. I will rejoice in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on my high places. Even with nothing left, no food, no income, no national hope, he had God. His strength was outsourced. His joy was rooted in his salvation, not his circumstances. All the years of striving, all the lessons learned, all the questions asked, bring you to this single, profound conclusion: he is enough. Your peace is not found in understanding the why of your pain, but in trusting the who holds your pain. Even when you don't recognize your circumstances, you can still recognize your God. He is the anchor that holds when the shore is gone. When everything has faded, God remains the deep, essential truth. The strength you lack now is simply the space for his strength to finally rest. Habakkuk began his journey on the dust of despair, standing rigid on his watchtower, demanding logical answers from a seemingly silent sky. He was ready for a fight. He was ready for a theological explanation that would neatly organize the world's chaos. But he ended it not with a loud, comprehensive understanding, but with a quiet, surrendered song. He received a vision, not a diagram. He found a confidence that did not require clarity. He realized that the greatest act of faith is not to demand the blueprint, but to simply trust the architect, the one who works on a timescale far grander than our own limited view. He didn't get all the details he initially demanded. He didn't stop the coming storm. In fact, God confirmed the storm was necessary. But he found something far more precious than intellectual clarity: unshakable confidence. A confidence that, even when everything fails, the fig tree withers, the vines are barren, the labor is lost, the hope of earthly comfort is gone, God, the Lord, is still his strength. He found the courage to stand, not by generating his own power, but by receiving God's. The Lord is the one who makes my feet like the deer's, steady and sure-footed, even when we have to tread on the high places of fear, uncertainty, and grief. And that, dear friend, is my gentle, heartfelt invitation to you now, in this late, vital season of your life. You don't have to strive anymore. You don't have to solve the riddle of your physical pain, or the quiet ache of your losses, or the future of your family. Your work in this season has become beautifully simple. It is simply to rest, to find peace, not in comprehension, but in simple, enduring trust. You have walked with him for so long, carrying burdens and serving faithfully. Now it is time to let him carry you. Let your grip on the details of why and how loosen, and take hold of his unwavering, sustaining hand. Even when you don't understand God, even when the clouds of confusion are thick, the house is too quiet, and the way ahead feels tragically unclear, you must anchor your weary soul to this one deep and final truth. He understands you. He understands the way the light catches the dust motes in an empty room, and how that small sight can sometimes trigger a wave of profound loneliness. He understands the weight of the years pressing down not just on your body, but on your spirit. He understands the unique grief of the long-term believer, the one who has dedicated a life to faith only to find the path at the end is rockier, not smoother, than they expected. He understands the profound difference between knowing God is good and feeling his goodness in the face of persistent pain. He knows every tear you have cried in secret, the ones for loss, sharp and immediate, and the ones for sheer exhaustion, quiet and slow. He knows the particular sting of grief that comes when you realize the person you needed most in this world is now gone, and you must navigate the hardest final seasons without their hand to hold. He knows the tears shed not just for the dearly departed, but for the lost version of yourself, the younger, stronger, swifter you. He knows the tears you shed for the children who have made choices that break your heart, and the sorrow of watching them build lives far from the peace you prayed they would find. These are not tears that fall without purpose. They are precious to him. They are the language of a soul that has loved deeply and endured much. And he does not just see the tears, he knows their source. He hears every silent question that haunts your sleep, the "why did this happen to us?" that slips out in the darkness, the "did I pray wrong?" that echoes when the sun rises, the "am I forgotten?" that settles in the late afternoon. He receives those questions not with judgment, but with a perfect, patient empathy. He knows that the questions are not evidence of unbelief, but proof of an enduring desire to be close to the heart of the one who holds all the answers. He sees every longing for home, for ultimate unbroken peace, and for reunion with those you miss so terribly. That deep, unutterable homesickness that permeates the soul in the twilight years, that is not despair, that is the Spirit witnessing to your spirit that you were made for an eternal country. He planted that longing in your heart. He honors it. Every familiar ache is a gentle reminder that the exile is nearly over, and the table is being set for your return. He sees the decades of your hidden faithfulness. The world measures faithfulness by attendance, by gifts given, by positions held, or by visible service. But God measures it in the quiet, costly choices that only you and He know about. He sees the times you chose grace over bitterness when you were grievously wronged. He sees the times you knelt by your bed, tired and in pain, and still lifted up the needs of others before your own. He remembers every promise you kept, not because you were watched, but because you were committed to integrity. He sees the quiet endurance that makes you so very precious, so much like polished gold. This endurance wasn't forged in public victories. It was forged in the lonely crucible of waiting. It was forged in the simple, faithful act of waking up each morning and deciding once again to believe in the goodness of God, even when the world offered compelling evidence to the contrary. That is the greatest work of the later years, the consistent demonstration that faith is not a youthful shout, but an old, quiet, unbroken vow. Your faith has grown deep, not wide. It is no longer swayed by the winds of fashion or shallow enthusiasm. It is a root system that has traveled far into the soil of his promises, surviving droughts and storms. He treasures this depth. He has preserved your soul through every trial, using the very things that stripped away your earthly confidence to deepen your celestial one. You are not declining. You are being prepared. You are being made beautiful for the final approach, and this understanding, this perfect empathy, is possible because He is here. He is not a distant academic deity watching your struggle from a pristine heaven. He is the Emmanuel who stepped into the mess and the grief of this world. He bore the weight of misunderstanding, loneliness, and pain, the very afflictions you feel now. When you feel forgotten, remember He stood utterly alone. When you feel pain, remember the cross. He is here now, closer than your next breath, closer than the memory you just accessed. He is the presence that fills the quiet rooms and holds the emptiness of the vacant chair. The Spirit intercedes for you with groanings too deep for words, taking the very incoherence of your sorrow and translating it into a perfect petition before the Father. You do not need to muster strength to find Him. You do not need a grand, emotional moment to feel His presence. You simply need to breathe and know that the power that sustains your very life is the same power that promises your eternal peace. You are held, you are cherished, you are understood perfectly, profoundly, and eternally. And in that vast, quiet knowledge that you are fully known, fully loved, and fully secure, we find our final rest. Even when you don't understand God, even when the clouds are thick and the way is unclear, trust this one deep and final truth. He understands you. He knows every tear you have cried in secret. He hears every silent question that haunts your sleep. He sees every longing for home, for peace, for reunion. He sees the decades of your hidden faithfulness. He sees the quiet endurance that makes you so very precious. And He is here, and that is enough. If this message was the quiet comfort your soul needed today, I invite you to make this channel your regular space for rest. Subscribe now so we can continue to meet you here, week after week, with gentle wisdom for your journey. Thank you for listening.